Okay, well, let's get underway. It's 9 a.m. here on the east coast of Australia, 7 a.m. for our friends over in Perth, nearly lunchtime for those tuning in from New Zealand, and about 4 p.m. in the afternoon, I believe, for those on the west coast of the US. So 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon. So if you're tuning in from the US, I'm talking to you from the future, you could say. So today we're going to look at a really interesting topic, which is competitive advantage. It's really worth your time to think about that in great detail. I'll tell you why. I've talked to a lot of small businesses over the years, and quite often they'll say, "Oh, look, we've got the best product or we've got the best service," and that seems to be, what they're thinking is their competitive advantage. Now, what we want to do today is look at a few things, probably three in particular, that are actually sustainable competitive advantages to really go after and lock in. I'm also going to look at a concept called the blue ocean, which is all about how can you swim in an ocean where there's not sharks, i.e. the competition that's snipping at your heels. How can you define yourself and your business and your particular niche into an area where there's not as much competition. Now, that's the beauty of a small business, is that we can niche because we can go after a smaller segment of the market and do quite well out of that. Often with a smaller tailored or niche section of the market, we can gain a premium for our product and service as well, which means we can get our margins up and our profit higher, which is a tremendously good thing to do in a small business, because it means you can put more profit in your pocket off less turnover. And of course, turnover is work, whereas profit is what we want out of that business. So there's some really interesting things that a small business can do that maybe a larger business that has a larger footprint, that needs to bring in a lot more people and a lot more sales, may not have the ability to do. And sometimes there's niches that can be quite profitable for a little business, but may not gain the attention of a big national player because there's just not enough in it for them. But you could carve out a handsome business out of that. So anyway, let's have a look and string some of these concepts together. Now, as you know, the midweek mastermind is a short session. I try and keep it under 45 minutes if I can. Sometimes if the topic's really fascinating, I might go on a little longer. But the idea is for you to take away one or two ideas that you can bite down on during the week and implement some new things into your business to move forward. So the midweek mastermind is for those businesses who want to drive through these challenging times, lead their business through these challenging times, come out the other side and go on to grow a business that becomes bigger and better than ever before. So these concepts will help you as you're strategizing and trying to move forward in your business. Let's get underway then. So there I am down in the corner, midweek mastermind. Let's kick off. Competitive advantage, taking your small business to the lead, that says underneath there. So in today, we're going to look at defining your blue ocean and the best competitive advantage for your small business. Yeah, there's only three of them, and we need to look at the one that suits a small business, and that's different to those that suit larger businesses. When it comes to looking at business success stories, and particularly strategy success stories, it's often the very, very large organizations that are written up in the books, in the bestsellers. So you'll remember Under the Golden Arches from the McDonald's phenomenon. There's books about Disneyland called The Disney Way. There's books about Facebook and Google and all of the others, and of course Apple. Apple's often talked about from a competitive advantage point of view, but it's the most valuable company on the planet. So it will have strategies that are vastly different to what a small business, and indeed an owner-operator business. Some of you on the line will be running owner-operator businesses, and you're working from a converted bedroom in your house. Those of you who have got through and broken through, towards $1 million or more, you will perhaps be in professional premises with employees, but still you're orders of magnitude smaller than what a Apple is. So strategies are different. First one is the blue ocean strategy. So let's unpick that a little bit. And then I'm going to give you an example of a client I worked with a number of years ago, where we actually found the blue ocean. And that was, well before the terminology blue ocean was popularized by the great book that's out called Blue Ocean Strategy, believe it or not. So create a unique category or niche that you can dominate. So when you think about your niche, you don't have to dominate that worldwide. Your niche will normally be something localized, particularly if it's a physical product coupled with service in terms of installation or tailoring or those types of things. Normally, a small business, will have a geographical catchment. So really, you're competing against those people who are doing similar products or services in your geographical area. So to say, can you be the number one company in a particular sub-segment of that? Yeah, you can. Absolutely you can. So have a think about how this can work for you. So there's the overarching market, right? There's sub-markets within that. So you can think about your own industry. You can have the overarching market, and then there'll be a sub-segment of that. And that can then be broken down into a range of different niches. You can think about those people who want just more of a transactional service. So they want the product or service and they want the cheapest one they can get. There's a particular niche in that. There's also the niche in those who want high levels of service. They want the best application. They don't want any trouble, and they're quite happy to pay a premium. There's another niche within that. And then again and again and again, and the amount of niches that you can find are endless. And what you really want to do is to find one that you believe has enough volume available in it for you to build the business that you want to build. So you can see here that what I've signified is that some of these niches are highly, highly competitive, and particularly the lowest price niche in any industry is really competitive because it's the least creative of all competitive strategies, and everyone sort of runs to that, yeah? And then you can see what I've done here is say your niche needs to be something that's a blue ocean where it's not competitive. What you'll find over the years in your business as you go forward is that people may well eat into your niche, and your niche can start to become a red ocean. Well, that's the continued evolution of your business, and you'll move forward and move on to be able to carve out another new blue ocean. So eyes to the future always, but there will come times where you'll need to change your competitive stance to be able to find a new blue ocean. Okay. So here's a real example of a company I work with, a small company I worked with a long time ago. So they were in the furniture market, right? So remember the big circle, the overarching market. He was in a category of that called, or a sub-market of that, antique furniture, right? And the niche he was in was antique furniture in Paddington, which is a suburb of Brisbane. It's an inner city suburb of the metropolis that I live in. And it has a number of antique stores along the main sort of thoroughfares there. Very competitive, right? Very competitive. Right from the cheap and cheerful through to those who are in sort of premium antiques where they're being sourced from all over the country and all over the world. So highly competitive area for that. What we did was we looked at what can he do where he can really rule the roost. And what he found was antique occasional tables. So he did a little bit of research and just went back through his sales register, if you like, and looked at all of the items that sold and did some analysis on that and then thought about those transactions because he ran the store. So literally when you sell something in your own business, you can nearly remember every sale to a T. So he just started to think about that and deliberated, took loads and loads of notes. And he realised that antique occasional tables, there was always a market for them. People often came in looking for a particular table to go in that space in the hallway or that little nook in the corner. and when they found the little piece that they wanted, then they would pick it up, and there wasn't haggling on price. There wasn't any. That was, that fits my area that I want for my house, and the antique tables moved. And he got good margin on those antique occasional tables, certainly more so than other large sort of cupboards and particularly the big sort of dining room table with 6, 8 or 10 chairs around them that are incredibly expensive to store and all those sorts of things. So he moved to that. So what he then ended up doing, so that became his blue ocean. So I was talking to him at a time when things were tough for him. So what he did was he realised that antique occasional tables, and more to the point, unique occasional tables. So he actually ended up in the sort of next 12 months after this first move, just sort of specialising in occasional tables. And he had an antique section of that, but then he just had occasional tables. What he did to free up some cash for him to be able to get more stock is all the other antiques that he had around, he just got rid of them. Literally had a fire sale and got rid of them at quite low prices. But what that did was immediately give him a cash injection into the business so that he could turn around and buy more stock to sell at a premium price, and he built his profits up from that. I remember talking to him. We had a big strategy session, and the particular program I was involved with, I'd catch up with people every 90 days. It wasn't quite enough, but that was the way it was designed back then. And he said to me 90 days later, he said, "James, you changed my life." He said, that conversation and me being able to see where to specialise and where to go, he said that just changed everything. And I started the next day, literally started the next day on that program, and it's been tremendous ever since. So there's an example for you of an overarching market, the furniture market, a category within that which is the antique market, a niche within that which is antiques in a geographical region, and then how someone moved out of that red ocean, created their own blue ocean, and went on to improve and succeed in their business. So what are the borders of the current red ocean? So if you're going to define your own blue ocean, I think a way to do it is you sort of work backwards from what's the current red ocean, what's the borders of that. I do a bit of competitor analysis. So I'll take a look at what are the competitors advertising, particularly on their websites nowadays. But if there are still sort of print material happening, so they might be advertising in local magazines or local newspapers or flyer drops or what have you. If you can get hold of that sort of material and take a look, but certainly web pages is a really good one. And I go right through not just the top 10 results, but I want to go beyond that. I want to go into page 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 because I want to get a sense of what's everyone doing. Because I want to do something different. That's the key. If everyone is sending the same message and you jump into that big red ocean sending the same message as everybody else, and you're going to get eaten alive. So spend the time to go through those websites and take a look at what's sticking out. Now, there'll be some great websites, there'll be some really crappy websites as well, but look for what's the offer. How are they trying to position themselves? What are they saying about themselves? How are they promoting themselves? Take some notes, literally. Put a little spreadsheet together or handwritten notes, and you'll get a sense of what the market is saying. And if you can then have a message that's uniquely different to what the bulk of people are saying, you'll immediately stand out. That's the key. So you can have a look at these things. I actually put a little bit of a checklist together before I'll analyse a market in terms of what are people saying. So things like what are the products and services being offered? What are the what's the language around price? Yeah, you get a sense that they're trying to go cheap and cheerful, low price, specials, all that sort of stuff. Or are they going premium? Or are they going mid-range? What sense do you get of that? How are they positioning themselves in the market as the best at this, or what is that language? What's unique about them? The quality, service and convenience, is anyone talking about that? Have a look at their reviews, if they've gotten any. And reviews will give you really important clues to how to position yourself. You see, if you read a customer review in terms of what they found was really special about the interaction with that company, the product that they bought, or the product or service mix that they got, or their experience in transacting with that company, that can tell you some really unique things about what the marketplace wants. Yeah. Now, sometimes you can see this where a competitor is getting reviews for certain types of things all the time, but they're not actually promoting that thing in their marketing. Yeah, it means you've got a competitor that's not really listening to the market. They've just sort of lucked in, so read the reviews on websites, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So what are people praising and what are people complaining about? Yeah, because if you can put that up front in terms of your marketing, we do or you can rely on us for XYZ, but also you can put up, if there's complaints, you put up the same thing as never worry about XYZ again. So any guarantees and backups? Is there any risk reversal happening? So what are the competitors doing? That'll give you a sense of the boundaries of the red ocean, and that'll give you really good clues as to how you can carve out your little blue ocean away from all the competitors snapping at your heels. And are there any other things that pop up? Of course, the list could be endless, but have a good look. Start with a few things, analyze it, and then as you're looking at all of those competitor sites, more and more and more things to put on your checklist will pop up, no doubt. You also want to do some customer analysis to define your blue ocean as well, because you want customers swimming in that blue ocean. Yeah, if it's a blue ocean and there's no customers swimming there, then it's going to be pretty hard. So I like to look at demographics. So where are you going to find them, right? So and what marketing avenues can you use to get to them? So an understanding of demographics is pretty good. Where are you going to find them and how are you going to get your message to them? And psychographics tells you what you're going to say to them. So psychographics is about their likes, their dislikes, what are the pain points, is the sort of happy smiley place they want to get to by the use of your type of product or service. Really important for you to understand that. Because people make emotional decisions to buy. Yeah, they don't buy logically. Quite often we sell logically, but at the end of the day, people make emotional decisions to buy. They can often back it up with logic. So when they're telling the story about a particular thing they bought, there's all of the great logical reasons why it was a good deal and a good decision. But at the moment they bought it, they made an emotional decision to buy. And if you can understand the psychographics of your customer, then what you can do is work that into not only your marketing messages that attract them in the first place, but also your sales process. Very, very important. So psychographics give you clues to those emotional reasons why someone will buy. So by now what you've looked at is the concept of how do you find a blue ocean. Then we've said, well, if we're going to define that blue ocean, we need to take a look at where are all the competitors in their various red oceans. So we stay away from that. And then we needed to look at what is our ideal customer from a demographic and from a psychographic point of view. So then if you're going to carve out a competitive advantage in your business, so you know what your blue ocean is, how are you going to compete sustainably for the long term? So there's only 3 sustainable competitive advantages. Best product. So that's what Apple goes for. So we talked about Apple in the past as being a company that's held up for its great strategy, but it's really, is it something that you in a small business in your local town, can you emulate what the biggest and most valuable company on the planet does? So with best product, and I'll show you a more extensive list in a minute, but they're massive amounts of research and development, and there's always a new product coming. Yeah, they're always launching a new product to stay ahead of the game, because you have to have that image of the best, and you can't stay the best if someone else usurps you with a product if you're not jumping ahead all the time. There's best cost. So some companies can do that via footprint, large buying power, certain systems or technologies that allow them. But normally they're a bigger company as well. right? I don't think that best cost is a strategy for small business, even though a small business can run on the smell of an oily rag, and business owners are often guilty of not paying themselves properly. I just don't think that best cost as a scalable method is right for a small business, because best cost really comes from advanced, often proprietary technology, or large economies that come through sort of large amounts of resources or buying power. This is the one for small business, best relationship. You see, a business that has rock solid, tight relationships with the right type of customer that's repeat purchasing at the right margin and referring others is something that's really unbeatable. Now, best cost doesn't do that all that well, because it's costly in many ways to maintain good relationships. You need staff. You need relationship building staff. You need business development managers and business development operators and those sorts of things to build that relationship. So the key is you need to be good at all three. You can't just pick one and be hopeless at the others. You need to be good at all three, but really stand out or excel in one. So you need to look at this and consider, so you know where you want to excel, because I can tell you over all the years I've talked to small business owners, they really want to be very, very good at their business in many cases, right? But where do you focus to be the best? You know, are you going to try and focus on being the best product if you are actually buying your product in from an importer or a wholesaler? You can't be the best product, because everybody else can have the same product as you, because they can deal with the same importers and distributors and so forth. So that's sort of lost. Keeps you focused on your best advantage. What I want to do now is run through some of the characteristics of each of these, so you can really see where to focus. So best product. So that's a business that continues to try and push their product or service to the leading edge, and that's why your Apples and your Samsungs and so forth launch a new product every couple of years, right? They're innovative and quick to commercialize new products or services. They are constantly trying to leapfrog the competition. They are results driven with loose-knit structures that allows for easy innovation and change, and they encourage individual creative thinking outside the box. Fair enough. Let's go to some characteristics then of best cost. So they deliver a combination of quality, service and price that others can't match. They are not innovators. They do not pursue close one-to-one relationships, so it's one size fits all. And if that's not tailored enough for you, that's okay. Go and get someone else. Yeah, that's the strategy. So that doesn't really fit the mentality of small business, because small business says, hey, we provide tailored solutions. We give the client exactly what they want. We really want to understand their needs, and we want to do something that exactly matches with them. Those words come out of small business owners' mouths all the time, and it doesn't fit this, yeah? They're very good at execution. The promise is low cost and hassle-free service. They are the sausage factory. Basic, reliable service, yeah? So, and disciplined teamwork is valued over individuality when it comes to the leadership style of the business. I don't know whether that's right for small business, to be honest with you, or whether a small business can even sort of get to many of those things. Best relationship. So the term client is more appropriate than customer for this type of company, and we understand the difference in I guess the feel when it's a client versus a customer. Develop great relationships with clients, just like good neighbours. They focus on what a specific client, not what the general market wants. That's interesting. They make a point of knowing a client as a person and all their needs and details. They tailor products and services for the client at reasonable prices. They cultivate relationships rather than pursue transactions. They focus carefully on selected and nurtured clients, and a culture that thrives of deep and lasting client relationships. That is the SME or the small business to a T. to an absolute T. And that's something that small businesses can do that quite often large businesses can't, because their personnel shifts and changes. You've got career business development executives who jump ship for higher commission rates or better base packages or different opportunities. And so, you know, I know the telco industry reasonably well. One of my clients is involved with that. And the amount of times that customers who have very good spend, who have been with the major telcos, they don't even know who their representative is because they keep moving all the time. So with a small business, if you get the right type of customer that's prepared to pay that extra to be looked after so you can keep good margin in it, you don't need as many clients, and you can really look after them. And in our advanced courses, I talk about building a brick wall around them. So it's actually a strategy. It's actually a customer relationship management strategy where you look at each individual customer and work out how am I going to build that brick wall around that customer so it's impervious to competitor attacks, because they will. When I've turned a number of companies around by going and taking other people's customers. You know, I did that inside a mature industry a number of years ago, the printing industry, when it still had some meat on the bones, so to speak. It was a mature business. Everyone used a printer. And I literally tripled the turnover of a business in a very short period of time by going and taking customers off other printers. And how did I do that? I just started meeting with and servicing and building relationships with those clients in between their orders with their existing printer. Was given the opportunity to quote, had the relationship so strong that I found out where I needed to be. I won the first order and they never went back. So were those competitor printers doing anything wrong? Not really. They did a great job. They had competitive prices. They were responsive in terms of once the order was done, they got onto it really quickly, got the product out the door. You couldn't really fault them in that way, except for the fact that they hadn't put the effort into building rock solid relationships with clients. And that was there for the taking. So if you build a brick wall around your customers because you're focusing on best customer relationship as your competitive advantage, when customers come sniffing, and when competitors come sniffing and looking for your clients, they won't be able to get in. And we tell some great stories about that in our advanced training as well. So look, there's a few things for you to think about. Now, what I want you to focus on this week in terms of your action steps is map out that blue ocean. So start to have a think firstly about where are all the competitors swimming and where can you swim that's different. Do a little bit of detailed analysis on that and say, well, what are all the current competitors saying and offering? How are they all behaving? What's their product mix? What's their service mix? That sort of stuff. Have a look at what you want your ideal customer to be then in terms of the demographics and the psychographics. So try and understand what they're thinking, what their pain points are, what their desires are, so you can carve out a blue ocean that suits that really well. And then start thinking in detail about the three competitive advantages: best product, best cost, and best relationship. Best relationship is the one you want to excel at. But what can you do in the others so that you're in the game? Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. It took a little bit less actually than what I wanted to, but three really important things for you to think about as you're carving out your strategy moving forward. Some of you will be in the position now where due to COVID, your previous or your traditional marketplace has dried up or changed. You may be sitting there thinking, I've got these skills and these resources, how can I use those to create new product lines, new service lines, and go after new markets? This level of thinking will help you with that as well, to be able to put those ideas together. I was talking to a group yesterday at a public presentation. I think at these times when it comes to strategy and particularly trying something new, we hear this term pivot all the time, and sometimes it's so much that it's a bit annoying. We always hear the success stories of when people pivot. But what's underneath that too is a whole range of well thought through changes that people have made. Some didn't work, right? You only hear about the ones that did work. Some didn't work. And I think there's a fine line there between if you've strategized a change and you're going down that direction, how long do you go in that direction before you say, hey, I'm going to have to take the micro loss here and pull up stumps on this and try something different because this isn't getting me anywhere. So I think you want to have some rules of thumb in terms of when if you've pivoted and you've changed tack and you're heading off in a new direction, you're unsure if it's going to work, you feel positive about it, but still it's unproven. How long are you going to go down that track, and what's your signal to say, hang on a minute, I need to tweak again, I need to change tack again? Because quite often the old style of set your sail and stick at it and grind it out and make it happen, you may not have enough in reserve after being sort of all the reserves eaten up with this COVID crisis. So you can give yourself permission to take the micro loss and start again, and do some careful thinking around what that's going to look like for you. Okay, everybody, have a fabulous week. I'll end the live stream now, and we will reconvene same time same